Third time's a charm. I just tried to redo this video the second time, and for some reason it's not loading on my X feed, and I don't know why. So I'm redoing it for the third time. If you tuned in earlier on the first one, the video stream glitched and the audio, and there was a major increase in volume. So in order to maintain consistency, I decided to delete that. I'm trying to restream live what I had said initially in the first stream. As I mentioned, and I mentioned again, I've been monitoring the appeals of the lawsuit of the Texas SB4 immigration law, and it's been kind of interesting for me to do it. I wanted to, and I am preparing right now, prepping so that I can sit down and do an extensive review of this lawsuit, or talk about it in a little bit more extensive method in a live stream. And I've been wanting to do it since last week, but I've been tied down with personal commitments that came up at the last minute, so it's been forcing me to push it back a bit. But I'm working on finishing it up here in the next day or so. My goal is to go live on the weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, and kind of talk about the lawsuit, the appeals, get a little more into it as to what's going on. But as you probably have heard, there were oral arguments yesterday at the Fifth Circuit Court with respect to the lawsuit. This was a continuation of the oral arguments that were issued, or that were held March the 20th. There was questions that were asked by the judges to the state of Texas, which their attorneys could not answer at the time. They said they were going to research it, they were going to look into it, and they were going to get back to them. I guess this is the way they were going to get back to them, was to have more oral arguments. But what motivated me to go live tonight was that there was a statement that was made in the oral arguments yesterday, and it wasn't as much the statement that was said by the attorney representing Texas. It was more the statement or the response that was given by the Attorney General of the state of Texas, Ken Paxton. Basically, what the attorney and the oral argument said, and I'm gonna quote him word for word here, is that he said, to be fair, he says Texas may have went too far, and he's referring to the creation and the legislation of SB4. Now, when you say something to that effect, that Texas went too far, or it's possible they went too far, you're opening up the possibility of that it may have happened. You're not denying anything. What happened after that was that the Attorney General came back and said, okay, Texas did not concede anything. When the attorney issued the statement that maybe they went too far, it was exactly the opposite. What is exactly? Let's take a moment to analyze that. What does he mean when he says exactly the opposite? Well, logic would dictate that he's saying that's not the case. Texas did not go far enough. Now, when the Attorney General is saying this, he's actually speaking in error. Why is that? It's because of the fact that you cannot mean something opposite of what somebody else says. If the attorney that's representing you is opening up the avenue of a possibility, there's no way you can deny that he's opening up that possibility. What's happening here is that the Attorney General is trying to do damage control. Why? Because even for him to state in public, or to issue a statement that what his representing attorney said was exactly the opposite, is it's not going to have the same influence. It's not going to have the same kick, I guess, than the statement that the that the representing attorney said, in the oral argument, because that's what matters more in front of the appeals court, is what the attorney representing Texas is saying. So, and the statement that the Attorney General is making, in all honesty, it doesn't have much push to it, much power to it in that respect. Now, another thing that he said, and I took kind of issue with it when I read it, and I'm going to try not to get into a rant on it, because I don't want to go that route. I think I've said this many times in the past, and I don't really want to dignify it more than it needs to be. And that is that the Attorney General said toward the end of his statement, he says, well, a lot of these news networks are reporting about this statement made by the attorney, and they've yet to contact my office, he says, to ask about it. Now, as a native Texan, and I'm sure other Texans would agree, the Attorney General for the state of Texas, it is, dare I say, it is very rare, if at all, that you will ever see the Attorney General on the news. And when I mean on the news, I'm not talking about being on networks such as Newsmax, Fox News, OANN, News Nation, I think is another one, or RSBN. Why? Because those networks cater to the conservative view, and Paxton is comfortable with talking to them directly. I mean, even he will even go as far as to do an interview with Tucker Carlson, who's not even a journalist anymore in Fox News. He's doing his own thing here on X as well. But the thing is, as an elected official, especially Ken Paxton, even our governor, and I'll talk about him momentarily. If you're going to represent those that elected you, the constituents in your state, and this is, when I say constituents, it's not necessarily those that elected him, but those that he is responsible to be accountable to. If you don't address them via the media, you're not being accountable to those that you're serving. Okay, and this is why I kind of get concerned and I get frustrated when I talk about this, because simply put, Paxton should know better. He doesn't have, and it's sad to say this, he doesn't have the balls, the testicular fortitude to appear before these specific news networks. And like I said, I'm talking about ABC, CBS, MSNBC, ABC, I think I said it, and even like the Associated Press. I mean, I'm not even mentioning the one news network that he's always had a problem with, which is CNN. I don't expect him to go on that, but on these other news networks, he should feel obligated to do so, because he is an elected official of the state. Matter of fact, now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever seen him on any of the local, other than maybe the local Fox News stations in Texas. I haven't seen him on any of the other news stations in Texas, and I've looked through a lot of them myself, because whenever something happens in the state of Texas with respect to the state itself, or even when I've tried to look about it, the securities fraud cases that he's got, the impeachment when it was going on, I could not find anything on any of the local sites in Texas. And I'm talking about, like, let's say, ABC 13 in Houston, KHOU, Channel 11, KPRC, Click to Houston, which is in Houston. I don't think you even see him on any of these stations. I don't think I've ever seen him on KVUE, and I think that's in Austin. KXAN may carry a written statement from him for a time, time or two. Not even in KSAT in San Antonio, and I'm calling out some local Texas news stations. You don't see him going on there doing interviews. And as a Texan, I think we should ask ourselves why. What does Ken Paxton have to hide that is keeping him from doing interviews with these local stations? Not, mind you, the national news networks, but even in the local news stations in Texas, you don't see him. The Governor Abbott is almost the same. It's rare that you see him. I mean, he'll come up on Fox news stations in Texas. He may do an occasional interview in Houston. I've seen him, I think, one time on ABC 13 in Houston, and that was I think the only time I saw him. Maybe they did it. They aired a video clip of him talking to another news reporter in another city. But to do an interview one-on-one with these local stations, nothing. And I double back to Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton is worse than Governor Abbott in that respect. They hate these, they call them progressive liberal news networks. And they are scared as hell. They are scared as hell to deal with them, to be interviewed by them, because they know, I guess, that these news networks are going to ask them questions that they will be uncomfortable with, and as a general result, they avoid them. They don't have the balls, they don't have the testicular fortitude to do it, and it's a frustration. I'm not going to go any further on that tangent, because I don't, like I said, as a Texan, it frustrates me that I can't count on these elected officials for accountability. And so I try not to touch that or dignify that with a response nowadays because of that. But these are the two things that in yesterday's events that I saw, I felt I had to address. And unfortunately, as I said, Paxton is doing damage control on this, and unfortunately, it's not going to help his case. It may hurt it even more. I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. In the meantime, I will finish up my prep work, and I am anxious to get into looking at these lawsuits and examining a lot of these details, and just a little bit closer. As I said, I hope to do this weekend. If I can't do it, I will definitely post a statement here on my X to let you know when I think I will do it. I'm almost confident that I can probably get done and be prepared for the weekend if I don't have any further setbacks. Well, for now, I just thank you for your attention, and feel free to post comments here on my X. I always enjoy commenting and getting responses to my comments when I'm going through social media, and I'm more than willing to entertain comments here on my X, on my Twitter feed, on this live stream, because I want to communicate. I want to see what the general feel is with other Texans such as myself and other people that are connected here on X, to see what they think. I try to be as objective as I can when I do. That's my purview, because I don't want to look like I am partisan one way or the other. That's not my intent with what I do here on X. It's basically to talk about certain events in a non-objective manner, and see how it plays out. For the meantime, though, I thank you for your attention, and I hope that you find that this was informative tonight, and I hope to see you here very soon on X. Thank you, and good evening, and may you have a good weekend if I don't see you.